On the island of Sodor, everyone agrees that it's very important to keep the railway tracks in good and safe condition. But sometimes, tracks get damaged. Then they become buckled and bumpy. Thomas was taking Sir Topham Hatt and his family on a visit to Ulfstead Castle, when they came to a very bumpy section of track. Soon, workmen started repairing the bumpy track. Each day, Sir Topham Hatt came by in Winston his inspection car, to see how the work was progressing. Sir Topham Hatt was still not used to driving Winston. As he and Sir Topham Hatt left for the day, Winston was very patient. But Winston could hear the other engines laughing at him as they went past. The next day, Sir Topham Hatt and Winston arrived again to inspect the work on the track. Sir Topham Hatt was always forgetting to put on the brake, and Winston was always having to remind him. Sir Topham Hatt drove on a little further. He stopped again to inspect more repairs. But this time, Winston didn't remind him to put on his brake. And Winston started to roll forward. Winston was having the time of his life. He was rolling down the line all on his own. But Thomas and Sir Topham Hatt weren't far behind. When the signalman saw that Winston had no driver, he tried to switch him off the main line. But he accidentally switched Thomas and Sir Topham Hatt instead. The signalman made an emergency call. The second signalman received the message. He switched Thomas back onto the main line. Meanwhile, Bertie was pulling out to a nearby crossing. He didn't know Winston was coming. Winston came speeding out to a junction when he saw Paxton up ahead. Winston's signal turned red, but he couldn't stop. Paxton put on his brakes. He stopped just in time. Winston was racing towards Tidmouth Sheds. Then there was trouble. There were cars ahead, and Winston couldn't stop. Winston was starting to slow down. Slower and slower and slower, until he came to a stop. All the engines were happy when the work on the line was finally finished. The engines all laughed, but Winston didn't mind. He was glad to have Sir Topham Hatt back in the driving seat once again.